Imagine you've saved all your money and you put it down for a house and you want to be able to rent it out. You can go out there and spend your time and energy to fix it up, and you're going to get a little bit of extra money. You're going to get a little bit of equity for all the times that you saved and put away that down payment, and now you have the opportunity to build some wealth for your family. Suddenly, the crisis comes along that the Democrats say, never let it go to waste, and you start building the structures of socialism and communism around this by stating we are going to be empathetic and enforce an eviction moratorium, where the one stick that a landlord has, where if the tenant for a prolonged period of time doesn't pay, you can finally kick them out at some expense to you. And they say, no longer can you do this. Because we've shut down the economy, because we're so scared and concerned for people's lives, despite the fact that everything in Florida has gone swimmingly well, despite the fact that Sweden, which never really shut down, hasn't had a COVID death since, I believe, July 13th. And yet, we go about and we make a crisis of this. And because we claim as Democrats to be empathetic to the commoner, to the average person who is renting, we say you don't have to pay your rent. You can back pay it. You can owe it. So for a year, people that don't necessarily like to save have been getting free money from the government, sometimes in excess of what they earn, because the government has kept them out of work. Meanwhile, inflation has risen. The price of labor has increased because the private sector is competing with the public sector for employment dollars. And what is the public sector paying in? Monopoly money that they are printing out of thin air and saying that we'll pay it back in the future. That is not so great for people that have saved, for the saver in this world who are seeing their savings absolutely debased and becoming worth nothing. Inflation on the rise. And then they say, we are going to extend the eviction moratorium, even though the Supreme Court came out and said that it was illegally enacted to begin with. They are now trying to draft laws to make it legal, and they want to extend it under the guise of empathy. And this is communism. This is taking the privately owned house and giving it to somebody else who didn't earn it. This is soft communism, with the government not literally seizing the property, but making it almost impossible for somebody who's paying a note on the house to hold on to it, and giving the squatters, which is essentially what they become if you're not paying for it, the right to stay in it without paying. And now they're going to extend it because it would be too hard on too many people, and we're the empathetic people. No, you are the people that have created this problem and then are using further empathy, in quotes, to drive the process of communism and socialism and the takeover of private property. As they say during the Great Reset, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Meanwhile, BlackRock can borrow from the Federal Reserve the money that is printed at next to nothing and buy up all the family units, which means that the wealth is being accumulated amongst the global, humongous corporations because of government giveaways. Meanwhile, they make it impossible, or next to impossible, for the average person to hold on to their house if they have a tenant who doesn't pay. And according to the game theory, many tenants would opt to say, I haven't had to pay anything for a year. Now they're going to give me another 4 months. I can live for free. I can save this money. Unfortunately, of course, that money is going to be worthless because the government keeps printing, but that's not the issue. The issue is that this is a government mandate that is taking away the private property and turning it into a public commodity, or transferring the wealth to a huge corporation a la BlackRock, to the elites. So the average person, the average landlord who has bought a house and doesn't have the financial wherewithal to maintain payments without getting rent for a year, because it is expensive to operate, to repair, to pay the taxes and insurance on these houses, this is robbing them of what they saved and what they earned. And this is the Democrats at work under the guise of empathy. There's nothing empathetic about it, by telling people that they can't work, by shutting down businesses, by shutting down restaurants, and then the giveaways to BlackRock and the elites. is evil. It's communism. And this is the process in which it's taking in the United States. So fight back against it. Let's hope that they don't pass the eviction moratorium. Remember, the Supreme Court ruled against it, and now they're trying to institute it as law because it was done illegally. Just like the process where they changed mail-in votes, the governors of the blue states. This was only supposed to be done by the legislatures. That's an absolute fact. The same thing with the eviction moratorium. They are stealing people's property from them. Empathy. Democrats. Pure evil. Honestly, how do you defend it? Tell me how I'm wrong in the comment section. If you're new, subscribe to the channel, hit the all notification bell, thumb up the video. Have a good day. Hope you're not a landlord with a tenant that doesn't want to pay. Peace out.